Welcome to Inbox Zero. You can think of this podcast as the advice column for business leaders. I'm Bianca Lager, your host, and every week I take your questions about the people, processes, and the problems that are clogging up your inbox and driving you nuts. So let's get you to Inbox Zero. Hey, welcome back to Inbox Zero. I'm Bianca Lager. And if you are somebody, and I think we kind of all are this person at one point in our career or our lives, you are somebody who is in a B2B sales or marketing position, or you really just like work for a company that sells things to other companies. A lot of us do that, right? We find ourselves in positions where our income, our livelihood, everything depends on if another company, so to speak, buys what we're selling. And even if you are not specifically in sales, you're in the business of getting other people to buy into this product one way or the other. But specifically when you are in sales or marketing, you're working a lot, especially these days, on your copy, on your sales messaging. And there's so many things out there that AI, helps you with or whatever else. But as we know, there's a lot of noise. All of us are inundated with messaging, with people reaching out, with people saying, hey, let's talk about this. Everything from like when you're at home, it's like, hey, you want to, I live in San Diego, so we get like the solar calls a lot of like, hey, have you added solar to your house? And it's like, yes, we have, or whatever else. And then at work, as a consultant, I get a ton of messages that's like, we can help you get leads faster or whatever else. And so even in my own like sales efforts, even if you are that salesperson or marketing person, you get it from both sides. And so we kind of live in this world where even when we're scrolling through Instagram, we're getting pitched, constantly getting pitched, right? And it works when it's really, really relevant to who and what we are. It is something that is the way of our world now, to where, you have to cut through a lot of noise to connect with somebody. And so it begs a question, and it has me really thinking about how B2B buyers have changed, how the B2B selling process has changed. And something of a core belief of mine that I've used throughout my sales and marketing career is really about putting some appropriate emotion into your sales copy or marketing copy. Your messaging out to people has to really, really resonate with them. And that's more true than ever now. You really have to be able to cut through so much noise. And I have to know really, really quickly that you understand me, you get me, that you are for me. You're talking to me. So how do you do that? And how do you do that at scale? It's pretty tough, right? Well, this is what I'm talking about this month in my Talk Regular Sell Well series. So we're going to break down emotional messaging, why it matters, how to do it without sounding fake, and how to pull it off. So that's really specific to your industry, and it's really specific to the buyer that you're targeting. Okay, so let's start with kind of getting down to an emotional truth, if you will. There's somewhat of a myth that B2B buyers are rational, or that like when you are in a B2B organization, especially a tech one, that there's look at all of our features, or here's an ROI calculator, and that buyers make calm, rational decisions. And ROI calculators, features, all those are important factors, right? It's not like they're not important. They factor in, but what they don't really do or get to or focus on is, well, the human nature of what you're talking to and who you're talking to. Because at the end of the day, if it was just purely rational, if it was just based on an ROI calculation, if it was just based on features, that'd be really easy. It'd be easy to build a company and be easy to sell things, because it's just like really straightforward. But how many of us have been in situations, and I know I have, to where you have this like perfectly rational deal that like makes sense on paper, it's going to solve X, Y, and Z problems, and it falls apart. And you're like, what? Why? Because these are actual people that you're talking to, and there's dynamics inside their company, and there's all sorts of stuff going on. And so, when you're connecting with people, you have to kind of really stay true to their work day and what's going on in their work life. People need to feel seen. They need to feel a sense of relief, and they need to feel in control. And if you can penetrate that and penetrate those emotions of how your solution and how you, even as a person, as a salesperson, is going to help them achieve that, then you are way ahead of the game. Not because you listed out seamless integrations, right? But you're telling them, let me show you a better way. So instead of saying, automate your onboarding process, it looks like this instead. It looks like, are you really tired? Are you tired of refreshing your inbox, waiting for that report so that VP of sales gets off your back and stops checking in on you? You're really turning a conversation of like, hey, like, you want to make your onboarding process easier into like, but what's the annoyance there? What is the workday annoyance that happens when you don't have an automated onboarding process or when there's delays in that process? What is the workday annoyance? So that's a question you want to ask yourself as far as like, what is the minor, not just the big ideas of automate your onboarding process, but what are the detailed and the specific problems that we're going to solve or we could potentially solve by automating your onboarding process, right? And this is just an example, of course. Insert, your industry and your solution there. But this works because it's very real. And again, about cutting through all that noise, you're really getting in on exactly, who I'm talking to, a specific person that is experiencing these workday annoyances exactly the way you're describing them. So what you're conveying and what you're really communicating is that you understand the stress before you're pitching anything. I get you. I see you. I understand you. Okay. So that's kind of the emotion behind it. Now, another part of it is about speaking to a person. Okay. You're not speaking to a company. You're speaking to a person on the other side of your email. And so in the same way that like those features and all that kind of whatever stuff and these grand ideas about automating the onboarding process, it doesn't resonate to people. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Maybe if I'm like in charge of onboarding at a company and I'm an HR person, yes, I know that like that's what I do, but like I don't care. I don't care about that line. Like it doesn't make me take action, doesn't make me move. So you got to stop writing like you're talking to a department. Okay. You're not talking to a department, you're talking to a person. So nobody is reading your email thinking, yes, this will optimize our organizational workflow. What a wonderful thing. Like, I just don't think like that when I'm at work. Okay. You're kind of, when you're at work, you're thinking like, how do I make it through the day without this fire drill of a dumpster fire that this onboarding process is? Or like, Karen's just annoying me over there and like, I wish she would go away. Like there's other things you're talking about, you're thinking about. You're not thinking about like organizational optimization, generally speaking, right? And if you are, it's a really deep thought that you need a lot of time for. And so like if you're trying to get somebody to make an instant action and react to like what you're doing by replying your email, by setting up a meeting, by taking the next meeting, by whatever, signing the contract, whatever it is, it needs to be a way more immediate and meaningful than that. So, um, rather than kind of again those same ideas, like we help HR teams streamline onboarding, like that's nice, right? Like, okay, you need to say that at some point, but like you really also need to sprinkle in very specific things like make sure that VP stops following up on you. Get that report before they ask you know make sure I want to make you look good in front of your leadership team, and this is exactly how I'm going to do it. Like things like that. Like think about the annoyances of like being somebody who's in charge of the onboarding, and the hiring managers and whoever else is like, what is taking so long, or like why do they have to go through all these hoops, or whatever it is. So it's like those are the real conversations that are going to get to your buyer taking action a lot quicker. The difference really is that the person receiving the messages on the other side is being heard. and their kind of own personal anxieties and issues are being recognized and heard, okay, which they might not get at work. So if they get it by you, we're going to like you a lot better. Okay, so next let's talk about fear and risk. Okay, everybody knows like to kind of stay away from fear-based marketing. Some people do it and they do it fine. They do it kind of well and they do it really sneaky, right? They're kind of like sneaking in fear, even though like it doesn't seem like it on the surface. It's like it can sound something like it could sound something like, oh, this will make you a lot of money. And it's kind of like giving you the fear that like you're not going to make money unless you do this thing, right? Or something like that. It might be a bad example, but you see what I'm saying. And yeah, like you should be like weary of these tactics because sometimes they're so heavy handed that you're just like, okay, like whatever, I'm fine. I don't need whatever it is that you're selling me. Um, Everybody is feeling pressure from all sorts of things. Everybody has like the best couch and the best I just bought a couch, so I'm thinking of couches. The best, like I can look around my desk and like find things, like the best snacks, like whatever it is. And if I'm not doing it this way, then oh my gosh, I'm blowing it. Um it's not wrong, right? Because at the end of the day, we do have like anxieties like I was just talking about in terms of being at work, keeping leadership happy with us and making sure we have good work relationships and getting through your work day, less annoying emails, whatever it is. I don't want to waste time. I don't want to pick the wrong tool. I don't want to look bad in front of my coworkers. Okay, fine. So the copy and the messaging that you're giving to people shouldn't add to that. You shouldn't be kind of shoving down their throat all the things that you're doing wrong. You should be able to sound like you've helped a lot of people out like them before, and you're not going to let them mess it up because you know what messing up looks like. Okay. So that's on fear and anxiety, and just kind of wanted to touch on that before we move into the next thing here. So I want to talk about value. Value is another like key factor we think about a lot and we talk about a lot in B2B sales. Um, but value can be driven in so many ways. Again, it's not like, oh, here's the ROI or here, whatever. What we want to think about in this approach and thinking about kind of adding more emotion and connecting really personally with our buyers is you're trying to make the buyer on the other side feel smart. Okay. Everybody wants to feel smart and they're feeling like they're making a good decision. They want to make sure they are, they saw the issue before it escalated. They want to feel like the hero. And so you can massage your messaging to reflect that. So, you can kind of say like, hey, be the one to catch this issue before finance does, or fix the handoff that always creates chaos without needing four other tools. Something again really specific that makes them see that like the solution doesn't fix this. You're gonna fix this. You are gonna be the hero. We're really trying to personalize how going with your solution, whether it's a service or whether it's a software tool, is going to make them look better at work and also be the hero, in their workplace of being the one that's like, hey, here's how we're going to fix this person. So you're giving them credit and you're giving them status, but you're doing it with sincerity because it actually is going to work. So, you're building up that trust, kind of gassing this person up a little bit, right? But doing it very intentionally so that we know that that person is able to take all the credit for, putting on a great solution at work. Anytime you can personalize that and make it really feel like it's on them and how they frame it to everybody else, that helps a lot. So takeaways here are that if your messaging understands your buyer really well and understands their day-to-day pains, what really it means to be a HR onboarding person, really understands like who they are, and what they experience, not just their KPIs, but really their work day. you're already halfway to a sale, okay? You've already connected with them in a way that all this other noise and nonsense is not connecting with them. So if you want some more examples, to rewrite some tools or to use on your own, I created a kit for you that you can download now. It's free. It's on my website. I'll link it in the notes and everything. Because I really believe in this, and I really think everybody, like I say a lot, I tell a lot to my clients, sell it like you mean it. You know, talk regular. Talk regular. Just do it regular. Anytime I ever had sales or marketing folks in the past and departments that I've run, I've said, do it regular. Make it as regular as we can because we are talking to people. So anyway, created that whole kit for you. It'll really help out, I think, with all this stuff. And I'll be back next month. We'll talk about a new aspect of either sales or leadership or standing out and influence in the workday. But I really hope that anybody who's kind of in that like sales marketing world, we're trying to get connected to our buyers, can take on this, regular talking, emotional, really workday connecting with people as people approach, and it can help you out. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you can try it out. If you have any questions, I'm on LinkedIn. You know where to find me. And we'll talk soon. Good luck. Selling.